Over the weekend, a photograph of a billboard on a highway in Cyprus went viral across social media. The reaction has been huge, with many people lodging complaints against the company that approved and displayed it. But let's put things into perspective, shall we? People are not complaining because the billboard is in Hebrew. They're not complaining because it advertises Israeli real estate or an Israeli-owned business, or because it wishes people a happy Hanukkah. What people are objecting to is that this is an advertisement for an Israeli politician, Gadi Eisenkot. The Hebrew text reads, "Israelis, enjoy yourselves. You deserve it," straight with Eisenkot. The final line, Yasharim Eisenkot, is a play on words. Yashar means straight, honest, or upright, but it is also the name of Eisenkot's political party. So the question is simple. Should foreign politicians be allowed to advertise on public billboards in Cyprus? Has this happened before, either here in Cyprus or elsewhere? According to the group Genocide Free Cyprus, it has. In 2019, the Blue and White Party funded billboards glorifying Benny Gantz's war record. When researching the issue, I also found examples of politicians advertising in other countries. For example, a Cypriot parliamentary candidate once put up election billboards in London. But let's be honest about that comparison, shall we? The United Kingdom and Cyprus are not remotely comparable. The UK is a global power with a population and economy many times larger than Cyprus. Cypriots emigrated there over decades, particularly during the British colonial rule, because economic opportunities at home were limited. They did not move en masse to Britain, buying up large areas of property in strategic locations, investing heavily in strategically important sectors like the energy sector, the water sector, the health sector, or creating widespread public concern about their political and economic influence. No one can argue that Cyprus is using the UK as a platform to expand its ever-increasing geopolitical influence. Many Cypriots are watching rapid changes take place around them. They see large-scale foreign investment in property, increasing influence in key sectors of the economy, and growing political engagement aimed at a specific foreign community living on the island. Against that backdrop, a campaign billboard promoting a foreign politician is not viewed as an isolated advertisement. It is viewed as another step in a much bigger picture. But let's look at who Gadi Eisenkot is. Eisenkot was born in Tiberias to parents who emigrated from Morocco. He served in the Golani Brigade, a unit that has repeatedly been implicated by human rights organizations, UN investigators, and media reports in allegations of serious violations of international humanitarian law during operations in Lebanon and Gaza. Although he is depicted as a moderate by some media outlets, Eisenkot has a history of advocating extreme violence. He devised the so-called Dahir Doctrine in 2006 when he was chief of the Northern Command. The Dahir Doctrine is an Israeli military doctrine that calls for the use of a massive, disproportionate force and the deliberate targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure. The doctrine is named after the Dahir suburb of Beirut, which the Israeli military leveled during its assault on Lebanon in the summer of 2006, that killed nearly 1,000 civilians, about a third of them children, and caused enormous damage to the country's civilian infrastructure, including power plants, sewage treatment plants, bridges, and port facilities. As Eisenkot himself explained in 2008, referring to a future war on Lebanon, what happened in the Dahir quarter of Beirut in 2006 will happen in every village from which Israel is fired on. We will apply disproportionate force on it and cause great damage and destruction there. From our standpoint, these are not civilian villages, they are military bases. This is not a recommendation, this is a plan, and it has been approved. Eisenkot went on to become chief of the general staff of the Israeli military before retiring in 2019. The plan he summarized was implemented soon afterwards, when Israel launched a major offensive against Gaza in December 2008. In keeping with the Dahir Doctrine, Israel has subsequently visited great damage and destruction against Palestinian and Lebanese villages, towns, and cities on a number of occasions. Targeting vital infrastructure and hospitals is a war crime. In July 2014, Israel launched its third and most massive military assault in a period of less than 6 years on the 1.8 million people of the Gaza Strip. It killed over 2,100 Palestinians and wounded more than 11,000. The vast majority of the 13,000 casualties were civilians, and well over half of them were women, children, old people, and the disabled. Eisenkot at the time was Deputy Chief of Staff of the so-called Israel Defense Forces, IDF, the Israeli army, since 2013. Targeting civilians, the elderly, women and children is a war crime. In May 2018, young Palestinians organized the Great March of Return. About 30 to 40,000 Palestinians lined the Gaza perimeter, demanding the right to return home to lift the siege. They were shot down, executed at a 300-meter distance by Israeli snipers. 50 were murdered and more than 1,700 wounded. A lot of the wounded were shot in the knees on purpose, so they would need amputations and be scarred for life. They posed no harm to Israeli military infrastructure or to Israeli civilians. Israel itself admitted that they were using indiscriminate, disproportionate force. The decision to shoot these non-violent marchers came directly from then IDF Commander-in-Chief Gadi Eisenkot. And that's a war crime. From October 2023 to June 2025, he was part of the War Cabinet, which oversaw the genocide in Gaza. The War Cabinet authorized tactics that involved routine massacres and the obliteration of civilian infrastructure. And that's a war crime. At this moment in time, Eisenkot's new party, which he formed in 2025, is surging in the polls in Israel. And yes, it does speak volumes to Israel's war crime political culture that its former military chief, Gadi Eisenkot, who boasts of his Dahir doctrine of smashing foes with disproportionate force, is surging in polls and could oust Netanyahu as prime minister in the coming election. So my question is, why is a war criminal involved in the genocide in Gaza advertising his political party in Cyprus?